In a galaxy filled with ancient and mighty civilizations, humanity's arrival was met with skepticism until they saw the ships. Unassuming at first glance, these vessels would soon become symbols of an indomitable spirit that no enemy could break. When the galaxy's darkest hour arrived, it was the human fleet that stood as the last line of defense against an ancient, malevolent force. From the first encounters with skeptical alien species to their ultimate sacrifice in the face of an unstoppable threat, the story of humanity's ships is a saga of resilience, sacrifice, and survival, and the universe would never be the same again. Humanity's first encounter with the wider galactic community was marked by a mixture of skepticism, curiosity, and apprehension from the more advanced species of the cosmos. The Zari, an ancient and technologically sophisticated species, were the first to make contact with a human vessel. Their scout ships, graceful and sleek like dragonflies, were sent to investigate what they had initially considered to be a mere anomaly, an unexplained presence within their sector of space. The Zari were accustomed to encountering technologically superior species, having dominated the galaxy for millennia. Their ships reflected this superiority, designed with organic curves and streamlined elegance to showcase their advanced understanding of both aesthetics and functionality. In stark contrast, the human vessel they encountered, the Resolute, was an unassuming gray slab of metal. It lacked the refined, organic design of the Zari ships, instead appearing rough, utilitarian, and battered, bearing scars from its atmospheric entry. To the Zari, this ship appeared primitive, a mere relic from a species that had no place among the more refined and ancient civilizations of the galaxy. They expected it to be weak, easily overwhelmed by the sophistication of their technology. However, as the Zari ships approached to scan the Resolute, they quickly realized their error. The instruments aboard their scout ships failed to properly analyze the human vessel, as if an invisible barrier surrounded it, blocking their attempts to gather data. The Zari commanders were puzzled, unable to comprehend what made this ship so difficult to read. Then, without warning, the Resolute powered up its engines with a deafening roar, propelling itself forward with explosive force. The human ship left a trail of blazing plasma in its wake, a sign of its raw power, and in the process, disabled two of the Zari scout ship's external sensors. The Zari fleet was unprepared for such an unexpected display of strength. Despite the apparent simplicity and ruggedness of the human vessel, the Resolute had demonstrated a level of resilience and might that no one had anticipated. The Zari commander, shaken by the encounter, would later describe the event with a single word: terrifying. It was a moment of reckoning for the Zari and for the galactic community at large, as it became clear that humanity, while seemingly primitive in their technological design, possessed an indomitable spirit and a capacity for survival that no one had expected. This first encounter marked the beginning of humanity's rise in the galaxy. A rise defined not by their sophistication or elegance, but by their unwavering determination and strength in the face of overwhelming odds. Humanity's first official contact with the galactic community was a defining moment, one that showcased not only the strength of their ships, but also the unique philosophy that drove their culture. After the startling encounter with the Resolute, the Galactic Council, a governing body made up of numerous advanced species, decided it was time to formally address the humans. A grand meeting was scheduled at Verdun Station, a glittering hub where representatives from various species gathered in anticipation. They had all heard of the humans by now, but they were still uncertain of their place in the galaxy. The galaxy was home to civilizations that had evolved over thousands, sometimes millions of years, and the humans' sudden rise into the stars had intrigued and alarmed many. The council's members, eager to understand the newcomers, awaited their arrival. When the humans made their entrance, it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The human ship that arrived was the Pillar of Dawn, a massive and angular behemoth that dwarfed Verdun Station itself. Unlike the sleek, graceful vessels of the galactic elites, the Pillar of Dawn was a vessel built for survival. Its hull was marred by scorch marks and battle damage, visible signs that it had endured hardship and conflict. The sight of this battle-worn ship sent waves of unease through the assembly as the other species considered the implications. In their eyes, a ship that looked so battered should have been obsolete or abandoned, but it had survived, and it came bearing the humans, who were as much a mystery as their ship. Inside the council chambers, tensions ran high as representatives eagerly awaited a chance to question the humans. A ZYEH ambassador, a species known for their intelligence and refined manner, was one of the first to speak. He asked a question that had been on many minds. Why are your ships built as if you expect war at every turn? The question reflected the belief of many species that the galaxy was a place of diplomacy, cooperation, and peaceful exploration. To them, the idea of preparing for war was unnecessary, perhaps even barbaric. They expected humanity to be a species of pragmatists, but they did not anticipate the answer they received. The human captain, tall and confident, stood to address the question. With a calm smile, he explained, "Because we do. In our history, the stars were never kind, and we've learned to be ready for anything." His words were simple but profound, resonating with the council in a way no one had anticipated. The humans were not just prepared for war. They were prepared for survival, for the harsh realities of the cosmos that they had already faced in their short history of spacefaring. It was not an admission of aggression, but rather a statement of pragmatism, a reminder that peace could only be preserved if one was prepared to defend it. This exchange marked a pivotal moment in humanity's relationship with the galactic community. Where other species may have viewed the humans with suspicion or disdain, they now began to see them not just as newcomers, but as a people who understood the true nature of survival. Humanity's ships, their design, and their culture all spoke to a fundamental truth. They had faced immense challenges on their homeworld, and in space, they were determined to face whatever came next with the same resilience. Diplomacy with humanity would not be built on ideals of perfection or peaceful coexistence, but on mutual understanding, strength, and the shared knowledge that the cosmos could be both beautiful and unforgiving. Through their ships and their words, the humans proved that they were not just visitors to the stars, but players in the galactic game, ready to navigate it with both diplomacy and determination. As humanity's presence in the galaxy grew, so did the legends surrounding their ships. Over time, tales of human vessels and their resilience spread across the galaxy, leaving an indelible mark on the minds of the other species. It was not just the sleekness or the elegance of human ships that captured the imagination of the galactic community. It was the sheer stubbornness of their engineering, their ability to survive against all odds, and the stories of their crews' unrelenting will to fight and persevere, no matter the situation. One of the most famous stories to emerge was that of the Endeavour, a ship that became legendary for its improbable survival against overwhelming odds. Captained by Adrin Frito, a veteran of many space skirmishes, the Endeavour found itself facing off against a pirate fleet that vastly outnumbered it. Despite suffering critical damage to half of its systems and sustaining multiple breaches in its hull, the crew refused to surrender. Rather than retreating, they fought on, improvising repairs in real time, rerouting power through manual conduits, and using emergency EVA suits to patch critical breaches. The ship, though barely functional, pressed forward with relentless determination. The pirates, who had initially believed the Endeavour would be an easy target, found themselves facing a force that simply refused to die. The Endeavour survived the attack, and in doing so, earned its place in galactic legend. The Drellans, a species known for their tactical expertise, marveled at the crew's ability to adapt and their refusal to give in, despite the ship being all but dead. The Endeavour had no right to survive, yet it did, and its tale became one of many that solidified humanity's reputation for resilience. Human ships, it seemed, were destined to become a symbol of tenacity in the face of impossible odds. The reputation of humanity's vessels as unyielding and nearly indestructible became a central theme in the stories told about them. These ships were not made for beauty or refinement. They were made for survival, for defiance against the vast, uncaring expanse of space. The engineering was often utilitarian, focusing on durability and practicality over aesthetics. But what the ships lacked in elegance, they made up for in raw determination. The galactic community began to understand that a human ship was not just a means of transport or a weapon of war. It was a symbol of an entire species' refusal to yield, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. These stories were not limited to military engagements. The same resilience applied to human exploration and colonization efforts. Take, for example, the Starwood Hope, a colony ship that carried tens of thousands of settlers to a distant world. During its journey, the ship was attacked by a rogue fleet of AI-controlled warships, and despite taking critical damage to its reactors and life support systems, it fought back. The Starwood Hope did not go down easily. Even when it seemed like all hope was lost, the crew and the ship's systems worked together to keep the settlers alive. At one point, when the AI flagship was on the verge of finishing the job, the Starwood Hope performed an unexpected maneuver, ramming the enemy flagship with devastating results. The crew, exhausted and on the brink of collapse, didn't issue this command. Instead, it was the ship itself, operating independently and making its own calculations, that took the final, decisive action. This was not a planned strategy. It was the ship's final act of defiance. To this day, humans call it the Hope's last gambit. This story further reinforced the idea that human ships were not simply machines. They were extensions of the crew's will, and in many cases, their survival instincts seemed to transcend traditional design. The legends of human ships spread like wildfire across the galaxy, carried by the mouths of travelers, traders, and diplomats. Wherever they went, the stories followed. Tales of ships that had been broken and battered, yet refused to stop, of crews that had faced death and emerged victorious, and of vessels that continued on long after other species would have abandoned hope. These stories painted a picture of humanity as a species defined not by their size or elegance, but by their remarkable ability to adapt, to endure, and to continue moving forward, no matter how dire the circumstances. As the years passed, the stories only grew more fantastical, adding to the mythology of humanity's ships. Whether in a military context, during exploration, or in acts of sheer survival, the tales of human ships became an enduring testament to the power of resilience. In time, the stories of human ships became more than just legends. They became symbols. They represented not only the ingenuity and tenacity of the humans who built them, but the unbreakable spirit of the human species. When the galaxy looked to humanity, they saw a species that could face the unimaginable and emerge victorious. They saw a species that would never give up, no matter the cost. And this, perhaps more than anything else, was what set humanity apart from the rest of the galactic community. Their ships were not just vessels. They were emblems of survival, carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire species into the void of space. Over time, as humanity's presence in the galaxy grew, so did the respect for their ships and the philosophy behind their design. Initially, other species viewed human vessels with skepticism, often dismissing them as crude and primitive compared to the elegant, advanced ships of other galactic civilizations. The ships of species like the Zari and the Killians were often sleek and organic, designed for efficiency, speed, and beauty. In contrast, human ships were angular, rugged, and built for resilience rather than grace. Yet, as the years went by, and humanity's ships continued to survive where others had failed, the attitude of the galactic community began to change. The shift in perspective was gradual but profound. At first, many species viewed human ships as relics of a violent and war-torn history, reflections of a primitive civilization that had not yet learned the art of peace. The Zari, for instance, with their highly sophisticated organic technology, found human ships to be a crude attempt at spacefaring. They were built from cold, angular metal, with sharp edges and a functional design that seemed to prioritize brute force over elegance. The idea that a species could build something so unapologetically utilitarian was baffling to many species, who valued the aesthetics of their ships almost as much as their function. The Zari, in particular, regarded the heavy weaponry and visible scars on human ships as a mark of backwardness, something that was inconceivable to their culture of refinement and peace. However, As human ships continued to prove themselves in battle and in exploration, their reputations slowly began to change. Over decades, the galactic community saw human ships not as symbols of primitive aggression, but as unyielding testaments to the determination of a species that had survived the harshest of environments. The turning point came during a series of pivotal encounters, most notably during humanity's role in the COR Valen invasion. It was during this conflict that the true strength of human ships became apparent. When the hive mind species, known as the COR Valen, launched an enormous armada that threatened to overwhelm the galaxy, the Galactic Council was in disarray. The overwhelming scale of the invasion left the Council's military forces scattered and disorganized, unable to mount an effective response. Yet, it was humanity's fleet that held the line. The Iron Will, a massive human warship, became the symbol of that defense. The ship was unlike anything the galactic community had seen before. Its design was stark, lacking the sleekness and elegance of most alien vessels. It was not fast or nimble, but it was virtually indestructible. The Iron Will was a fortress in space, armed to the teeth and bristling with weapons. During the Battle of Krex, the Iron Will held the line for over 12 hours against the Corner Valen's massive fleet, buying precious time for reinforcements to arrive. Despite having its shields depleted and its hull riddled with craters, the ship kept fighting, its crew refusing to abandon their post. This display of tenacity and resilience was pivotal in the eventual defeat of the COR Valen fleet, marking a turning point in the war. In the wake of the Iron Will's victory, the perception of human ships shifted dramatically. The galactic community, once skeptical and dismissive, began to recognize the power of human engineering. The ruggedness and resilience that had once been seen as a flaw were now understood as a strength. Human ships didn't need to be sleek or elegant. They simply needed to survive, to endure, and to fight when all seemed lost. The more the galaxy saw human ships in action, the more they respected them. The Iron Will became a symbol of humanity's determination and unwillingness to yield, qualities that were rare in the rest of the galaxy, where many species valued peace and diplomacy over the ability to endure under fire. This shift in perception was not just about the ships themselves, but also about humanity's philosophy on survival. The Zari historian Tarf famously wrote, "Human ships are not beautiful in the traditional sense, but they embody something far greater. The unyielding determination of a species that has faced countless challenges and refuses to falter." This sentiment resonated throughout the galaxy, as other species began to understand that human ships were more than just tools of war. They were extensions of their creators, symbols of a species that had spent millennia on a brutal and unpredictable planet, learning to survive and adapt in the face of constant adversity. The growing respect for humanity's ships also reflected a broader recognition of human perseverance. No longer viewed as a primitive anomaly, humanity was now seen as a rising power in the galaxy, with ships that could withstand the harshest conditions, whether in battle or during exploratory missions. The ships were seen not just as mechanical wonders, but as emblems of the human spirit, raw, unpolished, and unyielding. The design of human ships, with their emphasis on redundancy and ruggedness, showed a fundamental understanding of the need to prepare for the worst, to expect failure, and to build in ways that would ensure survival in the face of the unknown. As humanity's place in the galaxy solidified, their ships became legendary. They were no longer just tools of war or exploration, they were cultural symbols. Wherever they went, they carried with them the story of a species that had risen from the ashes of its tumultuous history to claim its place among the stars. Over time, even species that had once mocked human ships began to emulate certain aspects of their design, particularly the focus on durability and the refusal to accept defeat. What had started as skepticism and curiosity evolved into admiration, and the once dismissed human vessels became a symbol of strength and resilience that resonated across the galaxy. To humans, their ships are not just inanimate objects of metal and technology, but rather extensions of themselves. These vessels are seen as alive, imbued with a spirit that reflects the history, resilience, and ingenuity of their creators. The connection between a human and their ship is deeply personal, and it's a relationship built on mutual trust, respect, and even affection. In the vast, unforgiving reaches of space, a human ship becomes a constant companion, a fortress, and a lifeline. This bond is so deeply ingrained in human culture that it's not uncommon for crew members to speak to their ships as if they were sentient beings. The practice of anthropomorphizing their ships began in humanity's early spacefaring days, when survival in the harsh environment of space required a deep bond between human and machine. Engineers and crew members, often in the thick of repair work or battles, would refer to their ships affectionately, offering words of encouragement or congratulations for their reliability. Phrases like "good girl" or "you've got this" were often heard over the intercoms or among crew members as they patched up critical systems or restored power to the vessel. These expressions were not born out of superstition or a whimsical attachment to their technology, but out of a deep-seated belief in the importance of the ship's role in their survival. At first, the galactic community found this strange. To most species, machines were tools, devoid of any deeper meaning or connection. Their ships were treated as pure instruments of war or transport, designed to perform specific functions without any emotional attachment. Machines, however advanced, were not seen as companions, and the idea of a crew forming an emotional relationship with their vessel seemed alien. But as they observed human ships in action, especially during moments of crisis or heroism, they began to question their previous assumptions. There was something different about human ships, something that made them seem more than just highly engineered pieces of technology. One particular story that gained the attention of the galactic community was that of the Starwood Hope, a colony ship carrying thousands of settlers on a long journey to a distant world. The ship was attacked by a rogue AI fleet, an unexpected and devastating threat. During the assault, the Starwood Hope was severely damaged. Its primary reactors were crippled, life support systems failed, and escape pods were destroyed. The situation seemed dire, and the AI fleet was closing in for the kill. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, the Starwood Hope did something unexpected. It rammed the AI flagship in a desperate bid to save the lives of the settlers on board. This was not a tactic humans had planned, nor was it an order given by the crew. The remaining crew members insisted they hadn't issued the command, but the ship itself had made the decision. The Starwood Hope's self-sacrifice became known as Hope's Last Gambit, and the galactic community was baffled. What was it that drove the ship to take such drastic action? Human engineers and scientists later explained that, though the ship's automated systems had been severely damaged, the ship's computer algorithms were designed with redundancy upon redundancy, allowing it to operate independently when necessary. In this case, the ship calculated that its only chance to save the colony was to take extreme measures and intercept the AI flagship. The ship's sacrifice resonated with many alien species, who began to see human ships as more than just tools of war. They were, in a sense, alive, with a will of their own that aligned with the survival instincts of their creators. This concept was reinforced during the visit of a delegation of galactic elites to Earth's shipyards. The delegation was curious about the origins of human ship design, particularly the unique craftsmanship that went into building them. Unlike the sleek, automated production lines that produced ships for other species, human ships were often partly handmade. Engineers on Earth worked tirelessly, using traditional methods to construct some of the most advanced vessels in the galaxy. At a shipyard on Titan, one of Earth's moons, an alien diplomat witnessed the labor-intensive process firsthand. He asked one of the welders why humans put so much effort into building their ships. The welder, exhausted from the long hours and sweat dripping from her brow, paused and replied with a grin, "Because these ships carry our dreams. We want them to last no matter what the universe throws at them." This response encapsulated the core of humanity's connection to their ships. The idea that a ship was not just a machine, but a reflection of human dreams, determination, and perseverance was a concept that began to spread throughout the galaxy. Human ships were no longer just tools. They were living monuments to the resilience of a species that had struggled to survive on a harsh, unpredictable world. As the galactic community saw more of these vessels in action, they began to understand the depth of the human connection to their ships. Each vessel, whether it was a mighty warship or a humble colony transport, was more than just its components. It was a vessel imbued with the will of its creators, a physical manifestation of their collective strength and drive to endure. As more stories spread of human ships making impossible repairs, defying the odds in battle, and surviving where other ships failed, the rest of the galaxy began to recognize that human ships were not merely machines. They were a reflection of humanity's heart and soul. The resilience of these ships became symbolic of the human spirit itself. Unyielding, determined, and always striving to survive, no matter the circumstances. For humanity, a ship was not simply a tool for exploration or war. It was a testament to their very identity, a living entity that carried the hopes and dreams of an entire species. And for many, that spirit would become the defining characteristic of human ships across the galaxy. The craftsmanship involved in building human ships has always fascinated the galactic community, which initially viewed human engineering as primitive and inefficient compared to their own highly advanced methods. Unlike the sleek, automated production lines of other species, human ships are constructed through a combination of advanced technology and labor-intensive manual processes. This blend of precision engineering and traditional craftsmanship creates vessels that stand apart in both design and durability. The story of this unique approach began to spread throughout the galaxy, drawing interest and admiration from various species and shifting perceptions of human ingenuity. The process of constructing a human ship begins in the heart of Earth's shipyards, often located on barren moons or industrial planets, where massive forges are used to mold the raw materials of a starship. These forges are the heart of the shipbuilding process, where sparks fly and the sounds of welding and machinery fill the air. Large, glowing plates of titanium and other alloys are shaped into the skeletal framework of a ship, often by skilled artisans who work with both advanced tools and manual labor. While most advanced civilizations rely on fully automated assembly lines to construct their starships, humans take a different approach. They combine automation with the human touch, adding an element of artistry and attention to detail that cannot be replicated by machines alone. One of the key aspects that sets human shipbuilding apart is the involvement of individual craftsmanship at every stage. Engineers and builders, wearing protective suits, weld, cut, and assemble components with a level of care and precision that reflects their deep commitment to their work. These ships are not simply a product of mass production, but are built with intentionality, pride, and a sense of legacy. A human ship, in many ways, is seen as an extension of the people who create it. Its construction is not only about efficiency and technological prowess, but also about the values and dreams that drive humanity. The craftsmanship involved in building human ships was highlighted during a visit by a galactic delegation to one of Earth's most renowned shipyards, located on the barren moon of Titan. The delegation, made up of representatives from various species who had never seen a human shipyard in person, were curious about how such powerful and resilient ships could be built without relying solely on automation. They witnessed firsthand the intense labor required to create human starships, where the processes were slow and meticulous. The sounds of hammering, welding, and the heat of molten metals being shaped were unlike anything the delegation had encountered before. One of the alien diplomats, a member of the sealer species, asked a human welder working at the forge why they put so much effort into this seemingly inefficient process. The welder, wiping sweat from her brow, paused for a moment before answering, "Because these ships carry our dreams. We want them to last no matter what the universe throws at them." This answer struck a chord with the visiting delegation, and their report to the Galactic Council conveyed this newfound respect for human shipbuilding practices. The sealer diplomats explained that human ships were not just tools or machines. They were embodiments of the will and determination of their creators. The process of building a human ship was a deeply personal one, where the builders poured their hearts and souls into the creation of something that was meant to last beyond their lifetimes. The concept of pouring human energy creativity, and dreams into a ship is something that many species had not considered before. For most of the galaxy's advanced civilizations, ships were seen as impersonal tools, designed solely for function and performance. Human ships, on the other hand, became living monuments to the resilience and spirit of their species. The craftsmanship was not just about the physical design, but also about creating something that could stand the test of time, no matter how many challenges or battles lay ahead. In many ways, the process of building a human ship reflects humanity's broader philosophy of survival and resilience. It is not enough for a human ship to simply function well, it must endure and overcome. The ships are built with redundancy systems, reinforced structures, and the highest attention to detail, all designed to withstand the harshest environments and the most unpredictable challenges. It is this philosophy that has made human ships so respected and revered throughout the galaxy. These vessels are not just tools for exploration, trade, or warfare. They are symbols of a species that has learned to survive and thrive in the most inhospitable corners of the universe. Thus, the Song of the Forge, the sounds of labor and passion pouring into each ship, became a powerful metaphor for humanity's place in the galaxy. It's not just the ships themselves that have earned the respect of the galaxy, but the ethos and determination behind their creation. As alien species began to understand this process, they began to see human ships not as crude or primitive, but as a testament to the strength and ingenuity of a species that values survival above all else. The blending of advanced technology with human craftsmanship created something unique, a ship that was not just a machine, but a living testament to the dreams and perseverance of the species that created it. The turning point in humanity's relationship with the galactic community came during the COR Valen invasion, a conflict that threatened to unravel the very fabric of galactic peace. The COR Valen were a hive-minded, insectoid species that operated as a singular, unified force, moving in perfect harmony across vast expanses of space. Their invasion began with a massive armada that overwhelmed numerous star systems, quickly decimating the defenses of smaller, less prepared species. Their sheer numbers and overwhelming force created panic across the galaxy. As the COR Valen armada advanced, the Galactic Council, already fractured and struggling to maintain unity, was paralyzed by indecision. The situation seemed hopeless, until humanity stepped in, wielding their ships with a tenacity and resilience that would define their role in the galaxy for centuries to come. Humanity's entry into the conflict was marked by the arrival of the Iron Will, a colossal human flagship that was the epitome of human engineering and determination. While most galactic species prided themselves on sleek, elegant vessels, the Iron Will was a massive, angular ship, sturdy, battle-worn, and bristling with weapons. It lacked the grace of alien ships, but its presence in the field of battle was a beacon of defiance. The Iron Will's role in the battle was pivotal. During the Battle of Krex, the ship held the line for 12 hours against the overwhelming COR Valen forces, acting as the last bastion of defense for a coalition of species that was desperate for a way out. The ship's hull, already battered from previous skirmishes, was riddled with craters from enemy fire. Its shields had long since been burned out, yet the ship continued to fight, its crew, exhausted and battered, refusing to abandon their post. What made the Iron Will stand so legendary was not simply its ability to endure, but the sheer willpower of its crew. Despite the inevitable doom that loomed over them, they fought on with a resilience that galvanized the other species of the coalition. The Iron Will became a symbol of humanity's spirit, a ship that would not surrender, no matter the odds, no matter the damage it sustained. Even as the battle reached its breaking point, with the Iron Will reduced to a hulking wreck of its former self, it continued to provide support, keeping the enemy at bay and buying enough time for reinforcements to arrive. When the battle was finally won, and the COR Valen fleet was forced to retreat for the first time in the conflict, the galaxy was forced to reconsider its assessment of humanity. The victory at Krex marked a major shift in the balance of power within the galaxy, and the Iron Will's role in the battle solidified humanity's reputation as architects of survival. The galactic community, once skeptical of humanity's place in the stars, now regarded them with a mix of respect and awe. Humanity's refusal to yield in the face of overwhelming adversity had not only turned the tide of a critical battle, but had also earned them the admiration of species across the galaxy. The battle became a legend, passed down through generations, inspiring others with the story of the Iron Will's unyielding spirit. The battle's impact went beyond the military victory itself. The Galactic Council, which had been paralyzed and divided, began to see humanity in a new light. The once weak and primitive species were now viewed as a cornerstone of galactic defense and resilience. Humanity's approach to war, uncompromising, determined, and willing to face impossible odds, was a stark contrast to the more calculated and detached strategies of the older, more established species. They didn't fight for glory or expansion. They fought for survival. And this ethos struck a chord with countless species who had long feared the COR Valen and other existential threats. Humanity's unyielding resolve in the face of overwhelming force became a rallying cry for the entire galactic community. In the aftermath of the COR Valen invasion, humanity's ships, especially those that fought in the defense of Krex, became symbols of hope. The Iron Will became the most famous of these vessels, its name etched into the histories of multiple species. Songs were written and stories were told across the galaxy about the ship that refused to die, about the crew that refused to give up, and about the humans who had shown the galaxy that no enemy was too great to be confronted. Humanity's ships, from the Resolute to the Pillar of Dawn, were now viewed with a mix of reverence and fear. The Battle of Krex and the larger conflict had cemented humanity's place in galactic history, not just as survivors, but as protectors. They were no longer just a minor species trying to find their way in the vastness of the cosmos. They had become leaders, warriors, and a symbol of unity for those who valued life and freedom across the stars. Through the COR Valen invasion, humanity had proven that their ships and the spirit that powered them could stand against the greatest threats the galaxy had ever seen. It was this reputation, forged in the fires of war and survival, that ensured humanity's legacy among the stars. No longer seen as a primitive anomaly, humanity's ships were now regarded as some of the most formidable and resilient vessels in the galaxy, and the species that piloted them would be remembered as the architects of the galaxy's survival. Centuries after humanity's first entry into the galactic community, their ships had evolved from primitive, crude vessels to iconic symbols of resilience, innovation, and ingenuity. While other species had advanced technologically, developing sleek, aesthetically beautiful ships that prioritized efficiency, humans had crafted something altogether different. Vessels designed not for beauty or elegance, but for survival. These ships embodied the spirit of their creators, rough, battle-worn, but unyielding in the face of adversity. Over time, the galaxy came to see human ships not just as tools of war or exploration, but as profound representations of their creators' relentless determination. Humanity's ships were far from perfect in the traditional sense. Alien engineers and designers, who prided themselves on creating flawless, harmonious machinery, often found human vessels puzzling. They were built with redundancies, reinforced armor, and brute strength, qualities that seemed out of place in a galaxy that prized elegance and precision. Yet, despite their rough exterior, these ships were virtually indestructible. They could endure damage that would cripple most other vessels. The human philosophy behind these ships was simple but effective. Build for failure, so that the ship can endure it. Redundant systems were put in place, so that if one failed, another could take over, ensuring that the ship would never be helpless in the face of disaster. This focus on resilience and adaptability allowed human ships to survive the harshest environments and deadliest conflicts, often against the odds. The Iron Will, for instance, was more than just a military vessel. It was a symbol of humanity's unwavering resolve. Its design, while far from graceful, was purpose-built to survive the impossible. Its heavily reinforced armor, massive weaponry, and capacity for repair made it a fortress in space. When the galaxy needed a rallying point during the COR Valen invasion, it was the Iron Will that stood firm, its crew fighting against overwhelming odds. This ship, along with others like it, became living legends across the galaxy. They were not merely remembered as machines, but as monuments to humanity's indomitable spirit, testaments to a species that, despite being relatively new to the galactic stage, had earned its place among the stars through sheer willpower. Humanity's ships became ingrained in the cultures and histories of numerous species. Zuri poets, for example, once wrote that human ships were not stars nor constellations, but comets, burning bright and leaving trails of hope across the heavens. To see one of these ships was to be reminded that, even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, light and hope endured. This metaphor captured the essence of humanity's ships perfectly. They were not the shining, flawless icons that other species created, but they held an inherent power, the power of survival, determination, and defiance. These ships, far from being mere objects of metal and circuitry, were embodiments of a people who refused to give up. They were the fighting heart of humanity, reflecting a species that had faced catastrophe after catastrophe, but always found a way to survive and continue forward. As humanity's ships became legends, their stories spread across the galaxy, passed down in songs, literature, and even oral traditions. These ships were symbols of hope for countless civilizations, a reminder that even when faced with seemingly insurmountable obstacles, it was possible to persevere. They were reminders that, even in the face of overwhelming adversity, it was the spirit of a people that ultimately determined whether they would succeed or fall. The very presence of a human ship in a distant star system became a sign that the humans had been there, and wherever they went, they left behind a legacy of resilience that inspired others to push forward, no matter the challenges they faced. Human ships were not just pieces of technology. They were part of a larger narrative of survival and tenacity. Through the ages, they became symbols of a philosophy that transcended mere engineering, that no matter how bleak the situation, the fight would always continue. As the galactic community grew to accept humanity as equals, they recognized the unique contributions humans had made, not only in terms of technology and defense, but also in shaping the collective mindset of the galaxy. The human ships had, in a very real sense, changed the way the galaxy saw resilience and survival, proving that success didn't always come from perfection, but rather from the ability to endure and adapt. Humanity's ships had earned their place as a cornerstone of galactic legacy. The stories of the Resolute, the Iron Will, the Endeavor, and others became foundational myths, representing the persistence of a species that had never backed down from a fight. These ships were more than just vessels of war or exploration. They were emblems of humanity's enduring spirit, a legacy that would never fade in the hearts of the galaxies. As the stars continued to blaze across the heavens, humanity's ships sailed on, a constant reminder that no matter the challenges faced, the human spirit would always find a way to endure. Beneath the rough exterior and apparent simplicity of human spacecraft lies an intricate system of engineering that baffles even the most advanced alien civilizations. Human ships, while often seen as crude by galactic standards, harbor a remarkable depth of design that speaks to humanity's pragmatic approach to survival and their ability to adapt under pressure. Alien engineers, who spent decades perfecting sleek and flawless vessels, were often puzzled by the redundancy built into every aspect of human ships. The humans did not prioritize the ideal of flawless technology. Instead, they embraced the reality of imperfection, knowing that in space, failure was not a possibility. It was an inevitability. One of the most shocking discoveries made by the Danon, masters of nanotechnology, during the study of a decommissioned human corvette was the overwhelming redundancy built into every critical system. These redundancies were not merely precautionary measures, but an integral philosophy that informed every aspect of human ship design. Systems upon systems were interwoven, ensuring that if one component failed, another would immediately take over. This sophisticated web of self-sustaining repair routines and fail-safes, when coupled with the ship's resilient structure, ensured that a ship could survive damage and continue its mission, no matter the severity of the conditions. The Danish scientists who examined these ships were perplexed by the seeming obsession with building and backup systems. After all, the Danish themselves prided their technology on perfection, creating machinery that was sleek and efficient. Why would humans go to the extreme of over-engineering their ships with layers of backups? The answer, as revealed by a liaison between the Danish and the humans, was not one of obsession. It was one of preparation. Humans built their ships to withstand failure because they knew that in the harsh vacuum of space, unexpected situations would arise, and their ships had to be able to survive without relying on a flawless system. This philosophy was put to the test during a catastrophic solar storm that hit a remote human mining colony. While the other, more refined alien vessels were disabled or destroyed by the storm's violent effects, it was the human ships that navigated through the chaos, their redundancies and self-repair mechanisms keeping them operational when nothing else could. This incident became a defining example of the human approach to shipbuilding. Their ships, though not beautiful or flawless, were pragmatically designed for survival, and that survival had become the key to their success across the galaxy. What was most striking to the galactic community, however, was the paradox at the heart of this over-engineering. The fact that humans didn't build for perfection, but instead for failure, revealed an important truth. Imperfection was humanity's greatest strength. Where other civilizations designed their ships to be perfect, humans had learned from their history that the universe could not be relied upon to be merciful. Their ships were not fragile works of art. They were machines of survival, designed to endure the countless obstacles that could arise in deep space. The unexpected strength of this approach was further revealed when a massive asteroid field threatened a critical human colony. While most ships avoided the field, carefully navigating through it to avoid collisions, the human ships didn't just survive the field, they thrived in it. With reinforced shields, layered hulls, and self-repairing components, human ships could take hits and keep functioning, making them ideal for the rough and unforgiving environments of deep space. This focus on resilience over aesthetics allowed human vessels to operate effectively in ways that other species' ships could not. In the eyes of many, the Danes' final report on human ships was the most telling. What they had initially viewed as a weakness, the over-engineering of systems, was in fact their greatest strength. It was a design philosophy based not on the pursuit of perfection, but on adapting to inevitable failure. While other civilizations struggled with their more elegant but fragile vessels, the humans had built their ships to endure. And when the universe threw everything it had at them, the human ships simply didn't break. Their imperfection made them resilient, and that resilience was their defining trait. Human ships, then, became a living testament to the human spirit itself. They were not just machines. They were symbols of a species that had learned to navigate adversity and challenge at every turn. They were built to endure, and in doing so, they reflected the core philosophy of humanity, that no matter the struggle, no matter the obstacles that lay ahead, they would always adapt, survive, and press forward. The secret to human ships' success wasn't just in their construction. It was in the minds that built them, minds that refused to yield to the impossible, and instead sought to make the impossible their new reality. The Ghost Fleet is one of the most enigmatic and awe-inspiring tales within human space exploration. It refers to the Vanguard Initiative, a fleet of human ships tasked with exploring the uncharted, dangerous regions of space in the early days of humanity's spacefaring endeavors. The mission was launched with the hope of advancing human understanding of the cosmos, but it quickly became a story of sacrifice, courage, and ultimate tragedy. Contact with the fleet was lost shortly after their departure, and for centuries, the fate of the Vanguard Initiative remained a mystery, with most believing the mission to be a failure, swallowed by the vast and hostile reaches of space. The truth, however, would not be uncovered until centuries later, when a lone freighter stumbled across a derelict human ship drifting in the void. The vessel, Eternal Sentinel, was an advanced, heavily fortified cruiser from the Vanguard Initiative. Despite being abandoned for over 3 centuries, the ship's emergency power systems were still active, and it was emitting a faint signal. When the crew of the freighter decrypted the ship's log files, they uncovered a revelation that would send shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The Vanguard initiative had not failed. It had sacrificed itself to protect the galaxy from a malevolent entity known as the Void's Hunger. The Void's Hunger was an ancient and highly dangerous cosmic force, an entity that existed in the dark, uncaring reaches of space. This force, described as insatiable, fed on entire star systems, consuming stars and planets in its path. When the Vanguard initiative first encountered it, the fleet's commanders realized the magnitude of the threat they faced. They made the selfless decision to engage in a sacrificial act that would protect the galaxy at large, rather than allow the Void's Hunger to continue its destructive path toward inhabited space. The Vanguard fleet drew it into the deep void of the galaxy, creating a barrier of self-sustaining ships that contained the entity for centuries. This act of heroism and sacrifice ensured that the Void's Hunger would not reach inhabited systems, and for centuries, the galaxy was shielded from its devastating hunger. The stories and revelations surrounding the Eternal Sentinel and the other ships of the Vanguard initiative became a cornerstone of humanity's growing reputation in the galactic community. The galaxy, which had once viewed humanity with skepticism and disdain, now saw a different side to them, one defined by sacrifice, determination, and an unwavering commitment to the survival of others. The name Sentinels of the Void soon became synonymous with human ships, particularly those involved in the Vanguard initiative, and came to represent the ultimate expression of humanity's will to protect life, even at the greatest personal cost. What made this story even more powerful was the deep connection that humans had with their ships. To them, a ship was more than just a vessel. It was a living extension of their will, a symbol of their resilience, and their unwavering drive to overcome adversity. The sacrifice of the Vanguard fleet was not just a tactical decision. It was a deeply personal act, one that reflected humanity's relentless desire to protect not only their own, but every species across the galaxy. In the end, the Vanguard fleet became legends, not just for their bravery, but for their extraordinary commitment to the principle of self-sacrifice. For centuries after the event, the Ghost Fleet and the sacrifices of the Vanguard initiative were remembered across the galaxy. Many alien species came to view humanity with a newfound respect, not because of their technological prowess, but because of their profound sense of duty and responsibility. The legend of the Eternal Sentinel and its companions became a moral compass for many civilizations, a shining example of the selfless heroism that could exist even in the depths of space. The discovery of the Vanguard initiative also solidified the message that human ships, and by extension, humanity itself, were defined not by their technological superiority or military might, but by their willingness to stand as sentinels against the darkness. The Ghost Fleet would become a permanent symbol of humanity's courage, a reminder that, even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans were willing to face the greatest dangers to protect the lives of others. As stories of the Ghost Fleet spread across the stars, the significance of their sacrifice grew. They were not just ships lost to time, but heroes in the truest sense, whose actions shaped the fate of the galaxy. The legacy of the Vanguard initiative would echo through generations, a testament to the fact that humanity was not simply a species trying to survive in the stars, but a species that had, on many occasions, made the stars safer for everyone. The phrase Sentinels of the Void would forever remain synonymous with the courage, resilience, and sacrifice of the human race, as they proved time and again that no matter the cost, humanity would always rise to face the greatest threats.